Hello and welcome to the next episode of Two Girls Talk Transits. Today we're reviewing the astrology from January 19th through January 25th, 2026, and we're your host. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Kaylee.
Okay, we had a really big week last week, and we have another really big week again this week. So once again, we're going to kind of talk about each day at a time. The 19th is going to get split up, but other than that, we're going to like kind of lump it all together. So starting on Sunday. The main thing going on Sunday is the new moon in Capricorn. That's happening right there at 28 degrees. But we also have Mercury, who's about 2 degrees off of the new moon, making a sextile to Saturn and a trine to Uranus. And Mercury and Mars are still kind of conjunct, which we talked about in the last podcast. So a lot still going on in Capricorn house. Today I feel like will be the crescendo, the like peak of everything, the real big moment where, it all becomes known. I've been noticing the fact that Mercury makes all the aspects in Capricorn last as like the moment where I really begin to understand the problem or the situation, or like it's getting communicated externally versus being like an internal dialogue or something that I'm experiencing. And I think the new moon, in a way, will also symbolically kind of tie it together as like this new beginning in this house or this new way that you approach work. And, with the Mercury Mars making these aspects like what you're changing in your life, what is changing for you, what structures are being, dissolved, but also rebuilt. And it's a lot. I mean, this new moon's also in that trine to Uranus, just a little bit past it. Um, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same as you. I think like with all these planets being ruled by Saturn, we've been like really restricted and asked to like push forward. And I do think like with I also want to focus like on that trine because I think the trine to Uranus is really big, both
Hmm.
because Mercury is making that aspect and because the sun and the moon aren't but like a degree beyond it. So I do think we're being asked to like make a big shift and change in a way that we do things or the way that we're going to work as we move forward, projecting in the future. So I do think like it's asking us to be just different in the way that we work or just like be maybe Capricorn's not very flexible, but maybe be open to the idea of like change or shift in some way. Yeah, and we've like kind of been moving through like Capricorn season like without an opportunity to like have a fresh start, but I do think this new moon is that, fresh start that we maybe haven't been feeling like we've had. Like maybe there's been like momentum in this area of our life, but it still feels like we've been like hitting roadblocks and hitting walls. And I think the new moon is like, okay, maybe like that trine to Uranus, like we're opening the barriers and now is the opportunity to move forward differently.
Yeah, I agree. I think my experience with the sixth house, for me, at least that's where Capricorn is, it's just brought up a lot. It's been like just revisiting a lot of the, Capricorn traditional patterns that I have with work or routine in my body of like, but kind of pulling out all the challenges that I've had doing things. I've done it this way this whole time, or I've always had this routine of the schedule this whole time. And it's like with Mars here and with all these planets here, I've kind of been seeing the way it's been falling apart. I've
Hmm.
seen like Venus come in and give me little gifts of like cute things, but that it would not be enough for like all the Mars challenges that definitely seem to dominate. And with this new moon happening right after that Mercury Mars conjunction, and then again, like these trines to Uranus that Mars is even going to touch on tomorrow, it is like, I think it's Capricorn is Earth, and all the Earth is just what is material in its life. So it's been showing us our own traditional patterns with our material world, wherever that is. And then the moon and the Mars here is like, yeah, you need to disrupt it. You need to do something differently, or you need to break this pattern, or, you know, think outside the box more. This is the last bit of Uranus and Taurus. So it is this last big push to really make a substantial change in your life. And I do think this new moon's really calling for that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because Mars is going to be like the lingering planet in
Yeah.
Capricorn, and I think that does speak to like, we have this like fresh beginning and then we're left to do some major restructuring or, because Mars is the planet of like cutting and doing actionable things. So, maybe we are like doing some, like I said, major restructuring or changing things with that Mars energy there. And, we're given like that exalted energy to do so. And it all depends too, like how well we, what's the word I'm looking for? Digest like Mars in our own chart. Like for
Yeah.
me, Mars is like a really hard planet and even exalted, like with its strength in Capricorn, it's been pretty debilitating. Um, but I think, the energy can kind of go both ways, like I said, depending on how well we handle Mars personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think I see the positives of it. Like I am motivated to make changes. Because I generally do pretty well with Mars, but I'm definitely seeing the like this is a battle. Like this means you have to cut away from this, or this means you kind of have to confront this. You can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I guess like the that martial energy doesn't really give us like the option to like put the blinders on. Like you got to do something
No.
about this. Yeah.
And it's always more like you have to deal with this now.
hmm
You don't get to like wait it out like you can with Saturn. So, yeah, I mean, positive new moon, I think if you should just want to reflect back on the past, month of what we've been doing with all this Capricorn energy, what would you change and intentionally set that change into this new moon?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Cool. So moving forward the next day on the 19th. let's- So we have a couple different aspects. First one, we have the sun sextiling Neptune. So the sun is still in Capricorn, making a sextile to Neptune in Pisces. We also have Saturn sextiling Uranus and Mars trining Uranus. Saturn, Mars trining. Sorry, it takes just a bit to draw all these. There we go. Okay. So with the sun making a sextile to Neptune, I think like whatever decision we decide to make, I think we will be feeling like some bout of hopefulness, or like the ability to like dream and to think of things. Um, And we also have like these supportive aspects to Mars. So I think like that is also supporting whatever decision we decide to make. Like the actions behind it are getting supported. We have a sextile to Saturn. So Mars and Saturn, I think, can work well together if they're in a supportive aspect, giving us like the energy to work on things. Um,
Hmm.
and like whatever plans we have to like really materialize those plans. And then making that trine to Uranus, like it's just change and shift and like I said, doing things differently. So I think this is like good follow-up energy from the new moon. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like the rules of three too. Like we had the new moon kind of trining Uranus, and then also Mars was trining Uranus, but then Saturn and Uranus are now in a sextile exactly
Mhm.
as like that really big outer planet awareness. So it's like it kind of just solidifies everything that we've been going through with this Capricorn energy of just, our reality being challenged and changed in a way that's also Saturn sextiling Uranus is like Uranus is causing the structures in our life to change. And, we're seeing those big structures happen more in the Capricorn house right now, but it will also happen in the other Saturn ruled house of Aquarius. And so, like, I think it's just this bigger outer planet thing that's like, this is a theme that we're all experiencing collectively of just significant changes in our processes or in our reality. And, I think this is the last sextile that they'll have for a little bit. And that's kind of interesting happening in the earth and water. It's just these last challenges with emotions and material realm before we get into the creative passion, air and fire energy again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because by Taurus season, Saturn will have moved into Aries already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that,
Yeah.
yeah, like you mentioned, the final sextile. Um, Interesting. Like the next aspect we will have to Saturn will be conjunctions.
Yeah, we'll have the Saturn Neptune
Oh,
conjunctions
yeah.
happening in Aries, and that one will be pretty big. There might be, if Saturn goes retrograde in Aries, there might be another sextile to Uranus when it's in Gemini, but I don't know enough. But this is kind of the last real big pieces of Saturn and Pisces as well, that 3 year thing that we've been going through since March of 2023.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so
this
there's
is,
like final messages being conveyed.
yeah. I think these are like the final disruptions or the final like changes happening finally in our lives right now.
Yeah. So both
So,
of us wrapping up our Saturn return should,
yeah, yeah,
some final messages. And there is a
yeah,
relationship between the Capricorn house and that. So we had to tie them together somehow.
exactly. So, I just think, yeah, the start of this day is just sort of like the biggest awareness and like feeling like motivated to make changes. Mars also trining Uranus is like literally making a change now or taking some action for that new moon.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think like Capricorn season in general is very much about like gathering resources. If you think about like the winter in general, which is like symbolic within Capricorn season, um, you kind of have like your resources stored in order to be able to like utilize them like in the winter time when you can't like really gather resources otherwise, because things are dead. So I do think that this like energy right here is like positive energy for utilizing some of those resources that you've been gathering during Capricorn season, this entire time before we bump over into Aquarius season.
Yeah, and I guess we can touch on that next as that does start to really happen. The evening of the 19th on the Monday is then the sun will move into Aquarius and then Venus will conjunct Pluto as well. So Monday is a really big day because you have all of this last things happening in Capricorn, but then as the evening of the 19th is when you'll start to see like the progression. Yeah, the moon is going to be on the 19th. I guess the moon is going to be right there too with Venus
Yeah.
and the Pluto. You're going to start. I think I see the progression is like we have the new moon in Capricorn, we have awareness of what is new or what's being restarted in that more Saturn area of our house. Mars on the 19th too is being like we're going to make some little changes. And then we're also seeing like why we're making these changes, right? The progression into Aquarius is to like these are the new beliefs and ideals. Venus meeting Pluto is this real intense awareness around your desires and what you want out of your relationships with things or maybe literally people. And yeah, we start to move into air energy, which will really start to stimulate more possibilities. I also feel like being in this Capricorn, you kind of are just given what's in front of you. It's like, this is what's in front of you, this is what you're doing, and this is what you have to do, and there's no other way around it. And moving into Aquarius is like, now that I've sorted through that mess, what newness, how can I create something different or do something that thinks more outside of the box here of what I feel like I'm materially limited to.
Yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. I think too, like Venus meeting Pluto in the sky can also be a big day for like women's rights or like things happening with women at large. Like
Yeah, good
there's-
point.
yeah, there's been like a lot of talk about like the states like restricting movement on like pregnant women for getting like medical treatment outside of the state. So I definitely think like when Venus meets Pluto, some culmination of conversations could come to a forefront of whether or not, states are going to be able to make restrictions on women's bodies or women in general, at large. But I do think that this is something that could definitely come up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think we're gonna see that. I do think like Uranus and Taurus has been a lot about that too.
For sure, like especially with fertility and like,
Fertility,
yeah,
women,
yeah.
yeah, freedom of that. Yeah, I mean, things with the government can definitely come out, and I think will start to be coming out. I do think in the grander scale, like the Capricorn progressions have been a lot about like the government doing shit, that's like out of pocket, or, there's just been a lot of talk about like foreign acquisition of like Greenland and Venezuela and all of that, and that's very Capricorn, I think, because it's very traditionalism, is like the imperialism and
Hmm.
like taking land, you know? And
Hmm.
then I think like as we move into Aquarius and like meeting Pluto will be like the consequences of that, the
Hmm.
collective consequences and what people actually believe about that, which isn't the same thing as the traditionalist views.
Yeah, for sure. Aquarius season can also be like a time of like revolt or like when people like when like collective communities come together and like push for change in a big way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could definitely see like Aquarius season having an uprising of um just political topics and like I said, people communing over like ideas or how we want things to be different. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, Also Monday is MLK Day. He
Oh,
was an Aquarius, I think. Is it his birthday that's MLK Day or is it
I
let me
have no idea.
yeah, I know he was an Aquarius, but let me see.
Okay.
Martin.
Yeah, he was born on the 15th. So yeah, he probably was an Aquarius. No, if he's on the 15th, he's technically a Capricorn.
Is he a Capricorn?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's January 15th, so it wouldn't be his birthday.
But
Uh,
he probably had planets in Aquarius.
mhm,
Um,
for sure, yeah. But anyways, I think like my point with that was he is like very symbolic of like Aquarian energy, like pushing for political change.
yeah.
And he was like in charge of like the whole, black activism group. So yeah, it's just like pretty Aquarian. Yeah.
I mean, I would not be surprised if this is the day that they schedule a lot of protests or something. I know a lot of people are off work,
Hmm.
and it would be very symbolic of MLK Day. And like people again, that Mars Uranus trine is very active, so people feeling like they can make a change, you know. So
Mm. Yeah, really good point. Yeah, nice.
it'd be interesting. Yeah.
It will be for sure. On the 20th, we have Mercury sextiling Neptune. So Mercury's bumped over into Aquarius, but I think the sextile is like when it's still back at 29 degrees. I might be a couple hours ahead.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, Neptune's like almost there at 51 minutes, so it's like right there at the border too. Mercury's moving faster now that it's meeting the sun.
Yeah, so it'll first make that sextile to Neptune like right before it bumps over into Aquarius, and then
Yeah.
it'll go into Aquarius further. So I think just that sextile to Neptune, I also think like um kind of highlights what I was speaking about earlier, like just feeling hopeful in some way, like hopeful thoughts about like how you want to proceed. Since it's in a positive ex aspect, I don't think it's like having super confusion about like where you want to go. I think it's more so of like dreaming of ideas or thinking about possibilities. And then entering right into Aquarius, I think is like a fresh new surge of that air energy that Maddie was talking about, like being able to accept new ideas and being able to think about things differently and not so like when Mercury is ruled by Saturn, we're kind of rigid in thought. We can't like go that far or that unique with our thinking. because it's an earth sign. We're like thinking about things very practically, very like matter of fact, and moving into an air sign like opens us up to this new like fresh possibilities where we like are able to pull ideas from like just like different people and different things and maybe not be so concerned with the outcome or with like the practicality of the ideas. Like we can just allow ourselves to dream and think like not rationally for once.
Yeah, I think I mean, I think it's just interesting progression this day is like Mercury, yeah, meets Neptune first and is like, okay, think bigger, think outside the box, think outside these Saturnian boundaries of what
Mhm.
is actually possible to have for a society or for yourself, you know. And then, yeah, moving into Aquarius, I like Mercury and air signs has triplicity rulership here. And so we're going to be much more active mentally, much more creative, and much more sort of like being able to just think bigger and be more almost too like more empathetic. I just think like I felt like Capricorn season was just very much like people are really focused on themselves and their reality, you know.
Mhm.
Um, Aquarius will at least invite in the other opinions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Aquarians, I think like Aquarius, Mercury in general, I think um like will definitely listen to other people. It just like likes to make sure that things are like factual and like relevant, I think, in some way. But um yeah, I think we do. I think Mercury moving into Aquarius will be like a nice shift of like mental energy where we don't feel like as stagnant. And we just have like Mars left to bump over into an air sign, but we're like leaving a lot of earth sign territory. So, a lot of like materialistic things are kind of not going to be the focus anymore if they were in Capricorn season. And I think that's normal. Like right after the new year, you're kind of focusing on like, how do I want to grow,
Hmm.
and like improve myself maybe materialistically in the year ahead. But yeah, like a little bit beyond that, we're not so focused maybe on that anymore.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think this all like the 20th and the 21st are pretty linked, even through the rest of the week. But then like the 21st is then when like Mercury meets the sun for the Cazimi. Um, but they'll be like right there at like 1 or 0 degrees, I think. Yeah, like at one. And so like right as soon as Mercury, Mercury's moving a little bit faster now and then it meets the sun, and then that is that like all these ideas like really do get solidified for us, for like ourselves, for like our identity or like what we believe or like just everything that we've been experiencing. We are now fully moving into Aquarius, and it's like the big kind of realizations of like, what do I want to see change, or what do I want to think about differently, or it's just a lot. I do feel like this could be like a spiraling of overthinking because Pluto is so close though. So it
Mm,
could be a little intense.
yeah.
Yeah, how do you feel?
Yeah, I could definitely see that, like Pluto being roped into the picture, and we're like, um, maybe not sure whether, I guess, our ideas are based off of like fear or hope. When Pluto comes into the mix, sometimes it like has a way of activating our fears and making us think either like worst case scenario or like we're making decisions from like a fear-based place. Um, so yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that kind of, I guess,
The
yeah, being involved.
Yeah, the obsession for change too, or the obsession for things to be more idealized
Mm,
or
that's a good point.
to
Yeah.
like be better, or to like take kind of back control over something in your life. If Pluto has been kind of showing you where you're losing control or where you're fighting against a power source, there may be this big push, especially at the start of Aquarius season here on January, to be like thinking a lot about that or try to take it back in some way.
Yeah, and I think that like ties into like the next day when Mercury meets Pluto. Like you said, it's moving really fast, so it goes from like 1 to 3 degrees quite quickly.
Yeah.
Um, But I think that is like a really relevant point that I think that our expectations might be really high to like make some type of like intense change based off how we're thinking about things or how we're seeing things. And it can be either in our own personal life or in just like the world at large, like these huge expectations for things to be different and progressed and like better for communities and societies than they currently are. And um, it can just like bring up a lot of those like Plutonian themes of like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes for things to be where I envision them to be or where I think they should be. And yeah, that can just be like an intense, I think it's going to be pretty intense day, whether like personally in your own head or just like ideas going around on like social media or the news or whatever. Just like these intense conversations coming up.
Yeah, honestly, it's like the 19th through the end of this week is there's like a Pluto aspect almost every single day.
Mhm.
And like when you do have this close of a triple conjunction where all these planets are, even Venus is within 3 degrees of a conjunction of Pluto still. Like where Pluto is really going to be this main thing. And I do think, like, especially with Mercury there, maybe we'll see some secrets come out. Maybe we'll see some hidden information come out from the government or from that area of our chart. Maybe we'll become more aware of the power and influences in our life, and that can make us feel, restricted or lied to or scared or, just those darker plutonium themes. But it is going to be like that is all going to be really obvious. Like if you have not noticed Pluto in Aquarius, you will this week.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So that is kind of where we'll wrap up.
Yeah, we also have Mars sextiling Neptune on that same day. I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that's a softer. I feel like the Pluto stuff is going to be way louder, but
Mhm.
you may be like, I could make this all better. Uh, but I don't know. I think we're going to be a little bit diluted. I mean, I'm also looking at like how close Saturn and Neptune are getting. Like, I followed this AI subreddit on Reddit, obviously, but it's a subreddit about just like, is this AI? And like, just the shit that gets posted on there, like, it is crazy. Like, I don't know if this video is AI or not. And then it's like, people will analyze it and be like, oh, yes, it is AI, or no, it's not AI. But like, no one has like it's not clear. Like some things people are so certain are AI actually end up not being AI. Some people things are so certain that they're real are actually AI. And it's like, oh God, like that's so Saturn Neptune right now.
Yeah, I could totally see that. That's like, yeah, that's scary. And I think we are also going to see like, but we already know this is happening, but the dissolvement of a lot of jobs, like Saturn meeting next,
Yeah.
like watch our workforce dissolve because everything's being taken over by AI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like, is it even working? Like, I'm not convinced that it is, but it's just like that's what everyone believes that is working.
Do you know how many times I get so pissed off when I have to freaking talk to a chat bot? Like I'm
Yeah.
so annoyed. Like I don't care about the chat bot. The only thing I say to them is let me talk to a representative.
Yeah. And like I do wonder with the Mars, just like on this day with the Mars sextile to that, it's just, maybe you feel like you're trying to make action, but again, like it's like everything is just not clear as to like, is this gonna be helpful or not, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we don't really know. That's going to be a huge theme though over like the next
Yeah,
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
All
Um,
right, wanna last day?
yeah, last day.
So finally, we'll end this week on the 23rd on Friday. You actually don't have aspects on Saturday, but dang, this is a week. And that is just again, Mars will enter into Aquarius. So now we have a nice pile up of 5 planets, all right there within 10 degrees.
Mhm.
This is 7 degrees, really, 8 degrees, I guess. And the sun also conjuncts Pluto. So really big kind of thing. Again, the theme that we've been talking about that we've been experiencing since the 19th, that just like the secrets, the fears, and just all of this power and intensity. Now Mars is in 3 degrees of Pluto. So we'll talk more next week, but that will build to something probably explosive and maybe a little detrimental and a little bit catastrophic. I don't like this energy.
I was thinking like for if any babies being born on this day, like what an intense chart to have.
God, no, I would never want to have that, stellium.
I know. Yeah, it's really crazy. Hopefully they would be like just like a Greta Thunberg or something like huge markers for political change, but
Yeah, something positive.
mm,
Um, I mean, because I do see this like Kyla, the stellium could be pretty self-destructive stellium. Like, yeah, you have Venus trying to make things better, but Mercury switches sides, a lot, and it's really close to Pluto and the Sun, which can make, shady characters or like just really intense mental spear. Where especially as Aquarius, maybe you're not feeling understood and like over obsessing over problems or a lot of the fears of government could be a really big thing that could be kind of taking over the minds of the collective at this moment too.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely going to be intense, like for sure. Like we just have some major planets just coming really close together, and just like that interaction with Pluto is going to be just really heavy and intense. So it's interesting to have this aspect on a Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anywho, I don't
I
know.
think it will just continue. Like I think we're just getting the real big taste of it. And we're really just becoming more aware of this theme. And then next week it will continue a bit when Mars meets Pluto,
For
you
sure.
know.
It'd be
I think it's
nice
like
to have.
a
Mhm.
story. What?
I said it'll be nice to have like Venus backed off a little bit, but
Yeah, I
um,
know.
nonetheless, yeah, a lot of major things happening. Let us know on social media like how your weeks plan out. If you ever like listen to an aspect and you're like, oh, that really like matches with my life, let us know because we love to hear it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and just look to the Aquarius chart or part of your chart and just know that that's where all your energy will be moving towards by the end of this week. So hopefully it will be helpful for you. Um, all right, yeah. If you want more content from us, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Two Girls Talk Transits. Otherwise, we'll see y'all next week.
see you.
Bye.